This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Aleichem.
Aleichem Shulam. Okay, Yiddish. English, huh?
English, yeah.
Okay. Let's set the stage. Let me introduce myself. Who am I? I had the privilege of attending a Kesher Nafshi Shabbaton a few weeks ago. I came with the intention, with the concern of a struggling child that we have. I actually presented him to the public on Thursday. I had a live argument with him on the stage, and it went pretty well, which will be played later. But the problem was, I came home with a lot of clarity and guidance and direction how to deal with a struggling child. What I did not get as much clarity is on the siblings that we have at home, which unfortunately it's a big part of the issue, a big part of the problem, a big part of the challenge that the struggling child is having, because as a parent, besides having to deal with the siblings fighting, sibling rivalry, they're also telling me what to do. The other kids, they're smart, and they're telling me, Tati, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. So they're giving me advice, and obviously I can't listen to them, so that's another fight. So I'm building it, so there's rivalry between themselves, rivalry between them and myself for me not doing my job as a parent right, and then the third level is jealousy. There's a lot of jealousy because this kid is taking a lot of money and power and time and energy out of us, so we end up spending a lot of time with him, and the others feel left out. I hope my question was clear, and I don't know where to start.
It's very common. I'm happy that you're bringing up this topic, because I think that every person that's in this parsha, that's in this sugya, going through this challenge in their life, in their family, this is one of the first things that comes up. Okay, so I'm getting trained how to deal with my child that's struggling. What do I do with the rest of the family?
Right.
So I'm happy to talk about it. I think that, for starters, it's, you only fight, you're only upset at someone that you love and care for. So the families that have a struggling child, a struggling sibling, and they don't care, there's no fighting, there's no jealousy, there's nothing happening, that's a bigger issue. Because the moment they don't care for their sibling, it's a broken family. You would think the otherwise, that if there's fights, it's a broken family. The very fact that siblings care what other siblings do, and you start giving advice to the parents and unsolicited advice, it shows that the family is very ba'achdus and they really care, and that's why they're fighting. Brothers fight because they love each other, and they, if you don't care about someone, it doesn't bother you what they do. So
I guess I should take that they're fighting with me, that they love me.
Yes, as well. Yeah, okay. They care about you. They care about
the
family.
Then they love me a lot.
Yeah. If they don't care about the family and they don't care about anything, they wouldn't tell you anything. They're just living in their room, coming off from Chayid and Yeshiva, and then when they have to, they go back. The kids that come home and they're angry and they keep grudges and there's a lot going on. That's a compliment, So in every insult, there's a compliment.
Okay, so how do we deal with this compliment?
Okay, how do you deal with that compliment? Is by realizing that that your mission is not just the kid that's struggling. Your mission is everybody around you, just in case if you didn't know till now. And we're going to get very practical. We're going to get very practical about it. It's definitely something that we need to deal with. But just to make a quick introduction to practical advice, I think that if a family has a medical issue with one of the children, it's the same thing. You have the whole family is on turmoil. There's a lot going on. Or there's people that have even a Down syndrome kid in the family, right? That keep the kid home, and they go through different medical procedures more than regular kids, or there's shame, there's many different things that go on for the siblings. You're not gonna say the parents they're dealing with that kid and dealing with the rest of the children. It's just that it's the Nisayan is not only, the challenge is not only given to the parents, it's also given to the siblings. So whoever's born into a family that has an issue with one of the siblings, if it's mental problems, emotionalist problems, or Yiddishkeit issues, or personality, whatever it is, it's bashet for the siblings also to go through this, and this is going to help them grow to the best they have to. And only Hashem could decide who should be in which family. So we as parents, yes, we do have to carry the burden, and we do have to try to see how we can help the struggling child, but we're also trying to figure out how to help the siblings. But by knowing that it's their challenge just like yours, they just have different parts of that they could do for this challenge, I think that makes it a little easier for us. That's okay, because you can't take it away. If you still didn't accept that every child in the family was exactly where they're supposed to be in the family, then whatever you'll do practically to help the siblings of the struggling child, you're still going to always carry that guilt. But once you take off that part, you say, Hashem chose my family to have this kid, Hashem chose the rest of the kids also, and whatever they need to go through in their life to grow and to become better beings, this is part of their journey as well. Take that, accept it, and then we can get very practical.
Okay, I got it. I'll switch roles at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
I understood very well what you said. Obviously, that it is part of the challenge. Okay, it's not that we have two challenges; it's all one. Okay, but if I may add, there's another very important factor that plays out with siblings, which is a little different than with the struggling child. That is guilt and shame, which a lot of them go through, which unfortunately the struggling child does not. He doesn't carry guilt for himself, he or she doesn't carry shame. Otherwise they wouldn't do what they're doing. They're not in a state of being ashamed. But the siblings are. And that is something we have to be sensitive to as parents, because I just had it today, this morning. I had someone with me who has a struggling son, and there's a daughter this boy has a sister like a year and a half younger than him. She's probably 15, and she carries a tremendous amount of guilt because they were fighting all along, all the years, which is typical, normal, but she feels that she has a big part in him ending up where he ended up, and she really believes that. And to take that away is critically important, because guilt can destroy a person. That's the guilt part. And I always emphasize when it comes to guilt, obviously, besides explaining to them that there is nothing a sibling can do to a sibling that will make them go off the derech. It's impossible. Impossible. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about extraordinary, like an older sibling, chas v'shalom, hurting a younger one in different ways. We're not going to get into it. I'm not talking about immoral stuff. I'm talking about regular rivalry between siblings, no matter what. It can never happen. And we explain it to them so the siblings understand that. But that is the guilt part. But there is another part to guilt, which is called achrayas. They carry responsibility as a sibling, which is also so important for us parents to take off, that they are not responsible for their brother or sister. They're just not responsible. And I had one Udem Gudel who once told me that I should tell the siblings they don't even need to daven for them.
Wow.
Because if they daven for them,
that
alone is responsibility. I didn't daven enough. I should have had more kavuna or this or that. Don't even daven. You're okay. I'm not saying it as a halacha. Everybody has their own story, but someone told this to me on a specific case where one of the siblings when Etzisruel was going around to every kaiver and every lebedige gudel and not lebedige gudel to get bruchas. You don't need to. Quiet down. That's not your responsibility. That's part of taking a chayas to the next level where it hurts them. That's also part of the guilt. And then there's shame, which is so important to talk to them. That first of all, it's normal. It's normal to be ashamed. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with you that you're embarrassed about your brother, about your sister. It's normal. Make it validate the feeling, which we always do, right? And explain to them where is this shame coming from. the real reason of shame is, the underlying reason of shame usually is guilt. And if you take away the guilt, the shame lowers. It's not so intense anymore, the level of shame. So they're not so embarrassed anymore, because it has nothing to do with me. And you explain it to them that you are in charge, you are entitled, you're responsible for your life. You're not responsible for your brother, your sister. Let them do whatever they need to do. It bothers you, but it's not reflecting on you. We're still a good family. That's why it's important to be a good family, to emphasize on that. So that is the part of shame. As a tip, which I can share, is that it worked for many, which it works with boys and girls, which many times they'll have the issue that they want to walk in. Let's take a boy. He's going to walk into the lunchroom, and yesterday something happened with his brother. Everybody's talking about it. He acted out in a certain way. He's in the headline news in the shtetl now. Okay, and this boy is going to walk in. He's in yeshiva, or she's in school, and she's going to walk into the lunchroom where and they are convinced that everybody's talking about them. They're convinced, and it may be true. Maybe true. So, how do they get out of this? The worst they can do is not go into the lunchroom. We need to encourage them. You don't change your actions because of it. Yeah. That's extremely important. You do it. You do it as hard as it is. You break through it. It will help you for life. But as a tip, which works a lot, is when you walk in and you sit down at the table with your friends and you bring up the conversation. You heard about my brother, what happened yesterday? You bring up the conversation. Then you took the air out of the tires. It's gone. It's busted. First of all, you helped everybody. They will be thankful because you took away. They are under a lot of pressure how to talk to you about this. And now the fact that you're talking about it, right? Now we can talk about it. And most of the time they won't. And you made a statement. I have nothing to be embarrassed about. You did it. Not everybody can do it, but those who can, it really helps. Yes.
Beautiful. So to add on what you're saying, like about the guilt, I think that some of the struggling kids do have a guilt. Maybe they don't feel guilty for what they did for the family, but I think that a lot of them carry a guilt in what pain they're causing their parents, even if they're in the spiral of I call it a spiral.
You're referring to the struggling child.
The struggling child has guilt. I see it in my school. When I talk with the girls and we bring up questions, and many of them are asking, they're saying that I cause so much pain to my parents and I can't bear the pain. So there is somewhat of a guilt in that way. And what you were saying before about the responsibility of the siblings, which I think that this is, I have an interesting take on it to add onto your thing, is that children are not responsible of what the siblings are doing. Absolutely not, and you don't have to carry responsibility. If you're a sibling listening and you have a struggling sister or brother or more than one, you should just know that it's not your responsibility, as Shloime said, and all of us, that this is clear. But I have an interesting take on what a sibling could do, and maybe even should do, which is, you have a mission. Hashem chose that you should have a physically ill sister or brother. Hashem chose that you should have an emotional ill sister or brother. There's something you could do that, without carrying the responsibility is not for the parents. There are certain missions, like a shlichus. If a person has a shlichus, they're being told that you don't have to help us heal your brother, your sister. You don't have to carry the responsibility, but you could be nice to them. You could be tolerant to them and understand that they're going through a painful period in their life and it's making them behave a certain way in Rachnis and in Gashmis. So if you could be nice to them and you could always do something extra, I think that's not giving them responsibility. It's giving them a shlichus, a mission. I think that every person in the world, when they have a mission, they are naturally securing themselves from falling into the thing that they're doing. So let's say if a person is, let's say like Chabad, okay? I'm not a Chabadski, but there's something that I learned from them very interesting. The Lubavitcher Rebbe sent out shlichim all around the world. He didn't tell them they're responsible for the Rabban Shalom, they're not responsible to bring back everything. You have a shlichus. You go out, you put on film, whatever they do. That's their missions, their avodas Hashem, and other avodas Hashem. And I was always wondering, how is it possible that you have hundreds of people thousands of people living in Wyoming and Mississippi, and little children being brought up in not like communities as ours, which have walls, so to speak, with Yiddishkeit, and they're all strong. Most of them are strong and very proud Yidden. Why? Because they're given a shlichus. They're given a job that you should try to be nice to this Frau Yid. Give them a good word, a good Shabbos. They have a mission, and the mission is making them bulletproof. It makes them that they should not only not get influenced from the outside, because their job is to influence the outside. They're not getting influenced. There was in the 1970s, there was in the Israeli army, there was a Lubavitcher boy wanted to join one of the groups. And the general over there said, I'm not letting you into my group. He said, why not? I don't let any Chabadskes join my group. He said, why not? He said, last time I had a Chabadske, the whole group became frum. And he's such an anti-frum Yid, he didn't want him. So I'm thinking to myself, again, I don't want my son to go to the army, no. That's my shit. I'm not saying what's good or bad, but definitely I'm not from that side of the world. But what would happen if my son would end up over there, or one of our children, I'm not talking about the struggling ones, even the so-called regular ones, what would happen? Would he become Chiloni or the other way around? So what is Chabad doing more than us? Nothing. They're not teaching their kids so much more than we do. We give them very good chinuch. Because the Lubavitcher is put in his program as a little kid, you have a shlichus. So I believe it, I've seen it. I've seen it in my own house, with my own struggling child and with the other kids, is when I told my other kids, you don't have to carry the responsibility. But if you could be a little extra nice and help us, whenever you can, of doing things that are going to help your sibling feel more at home and feel more loved and accepted, and this is going to help them heal, is not only my other kids are not being hurt by this kid, they're actually helping. And I want to share this, that I remember one Shabbos, one of my kids that are struggling didn't want to join the Shabbos Seder. And, so didn't want to come down to the meal, fine. After the Shabbos Seder, we went upstairs and I saw in front of the door of this child, there was a tray with all the food from the Shabbos Seder was there. Shabbos meal, there was fish, there was soup, the flesh, the meat, and napkins and doilies and beautiful spoons and cutlery put by the door. And I asked my wife, did you do this? She said, no, who did this? And we asked my son. And he was like blushing. He said, yeah, I did it. He said, this sibling didn't come to the Shabbos meal. Why should they miss out? I just felt that let them also enjoy the Shabbos. Whenever they're going to wake up in the middle of the night, whatever, we know these kids are up a whole night to sleep by day. I want to, and I remember what impact it did on the sibling. So this kid did not feel any responsibility, but they felt part of the shlichus. So then it helps them not only not to get influenced, they're actually moving on and doing helping us out.
We see it in Halacha in Busa V'chulav. The Halacha is that a pot that is while it's cooking, it cannot be belay, it cannot absorb. When it comes to Busa V'chulav, if it's giving out while it's cooking, so it's releasing, it's giving out, it's either giving out or taking in.
Wow.
You can't do both.
Love that.
So it's the same thing you just said.
Wow.
When you're giving out, you cannot get it, you cannot take in. If you're giving out Yiddishkeit, you're not going to take in something else.
But we have to remember, we have to reiterate our kids. Right. You're not carrying responsibility. Tati is doing this, and
right.
Yeah.
If I can add to your words, beautiful. Sure. If I can add to your words about responsibility, the way I explain it to teenagers, and they usually like it because it's a little out of the box. When it comes to responsibility, we're used to in the world that there are things that I am responsible for and therefore guilty. Right. And there are things that I'm not responsible for and not guilty. For example, if I have my own child that needs food, a baby, if I'm not going to feed my child the food, I'm responsible for this child. It's my baby. And if Chaz v'Shalom something is going to happen to the child, I'm guilty, right? I'm responsible, and therefore, if I'm not doing my job, I'm guilty. Then, things that I'm not responsible for, if there's a child in Uganda that doesn't have food right now, I'm so sorry for that child, but I'm not responsible. I'm not guilty if something's going to happen to that child, right? That's clear. The confusion happens, there's something in between. that there are things that we are responsible for, but we're not guilty. And that is, for example, you walk on the street and someone comes over to you and starts hitting you, and you push that person away. Are you allowed to push that person away? He's hitting you, obviously. Yeah? You give that person a push, and he flies, he falls, and he breaks his hand, for example. Okay, who's responsible that person broke his hand?
Yep.
I am responsible. I pushed him. Am I guilty? No. Sometimes the word responsibility is connected to guilt, and we have to explain that to children, that there are many things, especially with a struggling sibling. You are responsible to that sibling, but we take the word responsible and we break it in half. Mm-hmm. You're not responsible, you're response-able. You're able to respond to the need of your brother, your sister, but you're not guilty. Like the story you just said with the Shabbos food, which is beautiful. He wasn't responsible, but he responded. He responded. He saw his sibling is sleeping. He responded to the need of their sibling and prepared food. But he's not guilty if he didn't do it. And that is something we need to instill in the family, that we're all together in this. And if I may add, we're talking about siblings, but even parents are not always responsible. Many times we're also only response-able.
Right, response-able.
Many times we can only respond to their needs. We cannot be responsible for them because they're not accepting us many times. So we know that. So that's the difference in responsibility. Very nice. Right.
But sometimes I was in Manchester for the Shabbaton this weekend, and I spoke on Friday to 3 different groups of siblings. And I was listening. 2 of the groups were girls, younger girls, and then older girls, and then boys. And I was listening to them, to what they're saying. There's a lot of anger. They're angry. It's anger. It's a feeling. It's not logical. It's anger towards their sibling. That why are you destroying our parents? Why are you destroying our family? There's jealousy. They feel very, very jealous because, here the parent is trying to heal the struggling child by buying them extras and, whatever they need, and so they feel jealous. Although, psychically, logically they know that my parents are doing extra because they're trying to heal the sibling, but they still have that jealousy of how come, right? Yeah. It's normal, so I validated that with them.
If someone is on a diet, I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat.
You're still hungry.
I'm still hungry.
Right. So
being jealous is a feeling.
It's a feeling.
To do with our brain.
So we parents, at the end of the conversation, I told the girls, you should ask your parents that you want to have a conversation with them about their sibling. If your parents didn't initiate. I think it's your message, but our message is to the parents, reach out to the other siblings at least once a week, or once or 2 weeks, once or 3 weeks, and it could be separate, every kid separate, it doesn't have to be together, it depends on the ages, and say, I'm sure you want to talk to me about our struggling child at home. I want to explain to you what we're doing and why we're doing this. Certain parts you'll get later, certain parts I can explain to you now. Do you have any questions? Be vulnerable to me. Tell me that you're angry or you're jealous or whatever it is. I'm ready to hold it with you. I'm ready to listen. I'm giving you space to share with me what you feel about this whole turmoil that happened in the family. And you'll be surprised how the siblings, the other kids, have so much to say. And the moment they're saying it, they're good to go. The moment you validate it, they get it. They understand. If they're older than 8, 9 years old, they understand that my parents have to do extras and they're able to accept it, But conversation, communication is key.
Conversation, communication, and it's also actual fun. We need to take them out. We cannot forget about the other siblings. The struggling child, we do go out with them more. We try, and they'll go out on their own. They just have a life, whatever life it is, but they go out every day. The other siblings are in the regular system, school, cheder, yeshiva, whatever, and they don't get a chance to air out, to have fun, and fun is a basic need.
So let me ask you a question that people might ask is, how do you know where the line is of spoiling? People are always scared of giving extras for the healthy kids, for the kids that's not, and they start getting where's the balance? What would you say?
Very, very good question. The first sign between giving to a child or spoiling the child is who is asking for it. if you offer to your children, let's go out, it's Sunday afternoon, we want to take you out. You never spoil a child if you offer them to take them out.
Interesting.
Or
buying them something.
Or buying, if it's coming from you, they didn't ask for it. If it's done in a healthy way, you're not spoiling them. You're giving them their need. They're not getting what you're giving them. They're getting you. Okay. They're getting you. And it's never enough. You can never spoil a child. I'm getting too much tati mami. Never. We know that. What can be spoiling when they ask from us. If they come to us, we want to go there, want to do this, buy me that, then we have to be careful.
Interesting.
Because then they're not getting us. They're getting their own needs, whatever they want.
Wow. I want to ask you a very difficult question. I'm throwing it at you.
Okay, it's payback time.
A lot of people have married couples. So you have a daughter that got married to a very chushuv Aidem, chushuv son-in-law, he's a ben Torah. And then you have a kid at home that's not dressed very tzniusdik and comes down to the Shabbos Seder, and your son-in-law or doesn't want to come for Shabbos, or he comes and he turns around when he makes Kiddush, because he has a tznius issue, or, it could be halacha sometimes. And even if not, it's something that's a value to them and it's hard for them. What do you say to the siblings, the parents also, but what do you say to the siblings, meaning the married siblings, that are so angry at why can't I come for Shabbos to our house? Our parents don't want to just throw out the kid. Obviously they love them. And what do you tell the siblings in that space?
Okay. Before answering the question, as Rabbi Shimon Russell teaches us, that we never answer the question halacha l'maaseh, because every family is different, every household is different, and we're just answering it in concept, right? In general, okay? And that is that we're Yiddish kinder. The nature of a Yid is, if someone asks you a question, you throw the question back. Right? If my son-in-law, like your example, would ask me, it's not fair, they're angry, why can't we come? I would throw the question back to him and say, I understand you validate his feelings, I understand you, you're upset. What do you think what should we do?
So you throw back the question.
You'll be amazed what they come up with. Because they also know that throwing this child out is not an option. Right. And telling him to get dressed or her is not an option. It doesn't work. They know it. They're just upset. So they are venting their anger in the form of a question.
So we're asking the parents to become therapists and just listen and validate rather than giving advice.
Just listen.
And say, then, do you have advice?
Yeah,
do you have...
I hear what you say. What you're saying is so valid. Like, what do you think? What should we do?
Yeah, someone's asked, yeah.
Going now that, let's say, Suda or Shabbos Suda is helpful for the struggling child and it's meaningful to show love, that's something.
Right.
He says when the child is, let's say, self-harming, there's a con. What's on?
Yes.
Absolutely.
They're very angry with Shabbos because of you. Did they ever say that?
No.
Why? Because really that's what they have to do. So to help that child, you're okay with someone from the outside that doesn't know you, there's another child, but he's machal, you're okay with that. You're the one that makes the vocal to hold them. You're machal Shabbos. But you're not okay with a little give to...
In your own family.
Even if kiddush you're not supposed to make, but you make that kiddush, because that's your outside.
Okay, but you could preach that to yourself. The question is, how do you preach that to your son-in-law or to someone outside of you? Yeah, sure. Right.
And my daughter.
Yeah.
I felt that we have to be fair to the rest of the family. They had a lot of homeless us, and it really was really disturbing us. At the time, we gave it time and they saw that I found only became stronger, or became confident in what we were doing, and so I didn't have that. Each one of them told me, Mommy, thank you for not throwing me out. I must say I was
sure. But that's only afterwards. after it's hard to see it while it's going through. I think that we're going in a direction of it's good, we could go there, but generally we're trying to focus on what do we tell the siblings of struggling with the struggling of not being able to come for Shabbos and those kind of stuff and how they feel about it. So I think that essentially every person that goes through this Nisayon is becoming a therapist. And all of us are...
Some way,
right? We're all realizing that that we need to start seeing things beneath the surface. It's not just a person misbehaving. Every behavior is an outcome of a feeling. So what we're teaching people, don't react to the behavior with a behavior, react to the behavior with a feeling, by trying to change the feeling of the person. So if a struggling person, if someone is not successful in Rachnis or in Gashmis in their life, that means that they have something in their emotional system is very pained, obviously. Because otherwise, if someone is happy, their behavior is happy. If their feelings are fulfilled, they're very functional. If someone is not functional in behavior, they're obviously struggling emotionally. So what are we doing? Respond to behavior with an emotion. Respond with love, respond with care. So we also have to do the same methodology with the siblings. Even if they're healthy, with this aspect, they are hurt. And their behavior is screaming at the sibling or being angry at you or being angry, giving advice, and whatever they're doing is a behavior coming out of their feeling where they feel that it's not right or it's not fair what's happening to the family. So instead of responding with advice or responding in a strong way to their behavior of why you're being chutzpah, why you're telling, you respond with emotions and you say, I love you too and understand you as well. And we are all in the same boat and all of us are struggling. And the moment they feel validated, they feel understood, they're going to be on your team and they'll be able to do the shlichus.
Right. To add to your line, which is copy paste, I'm just expanding it a little bit, and that is something every child can use and every human being can use. Even healthy adults can use it. And that is that we know that every problem started as a solution.
Explain.
Okay, I have a problem today. I'm doing something that bothers me. Okay, I'm smoking. I'm not, so that's why I can use that. Okay, let's say I'm smoking.
Why not?
Why not? I have to think about it. I just didn't get to it yet.
Okay.
Let's say I'm smoking. It bothers me. I would really want to quit. I really don't want to smoke today. But I started smoking. Not, today it's a problem. But this problem started as a solution. Years ago, I started smoking when I was a teenager because something was bothering me, and this was a solution to that pain.
Got it.
So every problem, this is in every person's life. We all have issues that bother us that we started doing at some point in life. It started as a solution. And if I'm not going to take away the problem, the reason why I started it, I'm not going to stop.
Got it.
Okay? So when we explain that to siblings, I use that with siblings a lot in these series, we explain them, why is my brother doing this? Why is my sister doing it? It makes no sense. Like, as much as you explain to them trauma and the frontal cortex, they get it, but they don't. They're kids, okay? Mm-hmm. Even for adults, it's hard sometimes. I imagine for younger children, teenagers. But what they do get, I tell them, look, your brother, your sister is doing it. It is a problem. We know it. But for him, for her, this is a solution for something. Mm-hmm. Baruch Hashem, you don't have that. You don't need the solution.
Very cool.
Thank Hashem. But he or she, they're struggling with something, and imagine that for them to be Mechal Shabbos is a solution. Can you imagine that?
Wow. Yeah.
How painful it must be for them.
Exactly.
That they have to choose Chil Shabbos as a solution. Baruch Hashem, you don't even understand how it's possible.
Wow.
For them, they're so extreme. And that is something we need to teach them.
I think that, you want to finish?
No.
I see that also with sitting with siblings is that very common, is that we all born and raised in frum homes, in Bis Yaakos and Talmud Torahs, and we were told that every person in the world has bechira. And everything we do every single day, we could choose which skirt to put on, and if you want to put on a yarmulke or your kafel today or not. So they get very confused with us parents, the way we deal with their siblings, of not judging their choices. And we're giving them all the love in the world. And they start feeling like, what's happening over here? What happened with choice? What happened with bechira? So what I tell usually the siblings, and I want to hear your input as well, obviously, my Rebbe. But I learned a lot from you, a lot.
That was an expensive joke you just made.
Can I handle it? Okay. I think that bechira is every person has bechira in a different place. some kids are born with jealousy on a higher level than other kids. Some kids are born with anger. We all. It's like when a baby is born, we see a cute little kid and we kiss them up and we love them. But I say, as they grow older, it's like a gift that's being gift wrapped with so many layers of wrapping paper. As they get older, another layer comes off, and you see, oh, this kid, oh, interesting. I never knew this kid has an anger issue. Shalom Aleichem. Okay, So we believe that we start our life where we end off our previous Gilgal. That's what we believe. That's the most. The Phenomene today believe in Gilgal totally, and we know that where we left off the previous, we start off. So this person struggled with whatever it is, they have to continue where they're up to. So obviously, every child has Bechir in a different place. So for one person, not to be jealous is like it's nothing, and the other kid has to struggle a lifetime to get through it. So we don't know where other people's Bechiras are, where their choices are in different things in their life. So that's number one. We don't know. Some people are able to learn 15 minutes a day, and this is going to be their ticket to Gan Eden. And other people have to learn 10 hours to get the same amount of schar, because we don't know. So to me, I don't know where other people's Bechira is. So to me, I only see the good, and to me, everybody. So that's number one, what I tell the siblings. You don't know, to them, because they must have gone through some kind of very, very painful and traumatic event in their life. Sometimes we know what it is, sometimes we don't know. And even when we know, we think we know the extent of it, and it could be 1,000 times worse. Therefore, to us, we don't know where the Bechir for this child is, so they don't have Bechir. We just love them for who they are. We're trying to help them heal. And hopefully when they're going to be proud of themselves, and they'll have a better confidence, and they'll love themselves more, they'll be able to get back to their Bechir on that level that they're able to do it. So you have your Bechir, and they have their Bechir. Because they ask many times, what's happening? And like, I also want to have a cell phone. I'm not, because I want to be a good girl. But if my brother has, all of this going on. So where's the Bechira, and where's the...
That's a huge topic, the whole topic of Bechira.
I don't know how much time we have. But we could...
the topic of Bechira is endless.
No, but they ask about the siblings. What would you say to the siblings? Do my siblings have a choice, or don't they have a choice? If they have a choice, why did you have to put on a miniskirt? Why?
I mean, it's obvious if we understand what trauma is, they don't have a choice. At the moment,
that's what I want you to say. Say it.
Okay. No, they obviously don't, unfortunately. When trauma hits, everything stops. It's a fact. Everything stops. For every human being. This is not just struggling kids. Even for us, we know what trauma is. When a person is in a state of trauma, Hashem made so that the whole logic, everything that's logical, will not work. So we actually lose the Bechira. Mm-hmm. We actually lose choice because of the overwhelmed part of it and whatever it is.
And this is agreed upon by all. Every
therapist,
every psychologist, every something that we are telling the parents.
No one who will tell you.
Siblings.
There's no one. There's no one in the world that will tell you that a brain that is a traumatized brain has choice.
Mm-hmm. So the question is going to be the obvious question. I'm thinking in the head of the siblings listening, or even parents, is I also went through trauma. What happened with me?
Okay.
Or someone else. Where does that?
Okay. That's obvious. That's an obvious question, because you can have two people. Let's talk about adults. You can have two people sitting in a car, and the car is in an accident. Okay? Both went through the same trauma. Or both will be in the same elevator that got stuck overnight on the 90th floor. Okay? One will walk out a wreck, traumatized, therapy, blah, blah, and the other one will laugh and have a good joke for the next shave class. Okay? What's the difference between the two? Both have the same brain, but their perception, their sensitivity, it has to do a lot with the neurons, how the brain is wired. That will make a difference how the trauma affects the brain. So it's like an onion, okay? It has layers and layers and layers and layers. If it only affects you on the outer layer, or the second or the third, you can brush it off and move on. Mm-hmm. It will take a few days, it will go away. If it hits in the deepest, in the center, then it's trauma, real trauma. So it depends on that question.
That person's different.
Why is come on, she had a hard time in school, me too. Why am I different? Baruch Hashem, you're different. You're not the same. You have a different brain.
Baruch Hashem, you're different.
Baruch Hashem, you're different. It's not
still don't judge.
No, because she's wired differently. Most of these kids, we all know it, are highly sensitive.
Right.
highly sensitive kids, which
They're real, authentic, and
very authentic.
They don't
and
like.
they feel it. They have their antennas are so up and
They can sense
upcharged.
hypocrisy from a mile away.
From a mile away, they can sense what you feel about them, what you think about them. So what does that mean? When that Rabbi or teacher, let's say in the school, will say something to the entire class, they get hit the deepest.
Yeah.
They get hurt the deepest.
I remember, I just want to cut you off a second. I remember when I was a teenager, I was in Shiktana, and there was a Maggid Yeshiva, Chassidus Yeshiva, and I remember I used to go home from Yeshiva I lived in Borough Park. I used to go home, I used to take off my glasses, Shmir Sanayim. I went through that stage.
Well, it should be healthy.
No, it was good. It was good for me. It was very good. So I remember he was preaching to us, he was saying that there was a restaurant across the street, a bagel store. And then toen is at the bagel store, what are you doing? Shmir Sanayim. There's women there and kids and girls. And I took it very, very serious. And I used to buy over there lunch. I used to cross over to buy lunch. I didn't like the lunch in Yeshiva. And one day I looked out of the window and I saw him, that Magachi, walk into that restaurant. I remember I felt like something in my brain tore. Like, if I could explain, like it was like, ouch. It was like, I'm that nature. I saw through people and I couldn't handle. Hashem, I'm lucky. I don't know what didn't keep me off of that and for many other things I went through. But Baruch Hashem, I didn't.
What that does to a child,
it's crazy.
They lose trust.
They lose trust, and it's not even logical. It's like so much deeper. Right. Something happens that.
Right now he can explain himself. Look, I'm a man. I'm married. I'm in a different place, and you're young teenagers. He can explain himself, but
I didn't see it that way.
But he didn't see
if you're telling me that,
I'm expecting you to do the same, and that is obviously that is extremely important. But the level of trauma that hits a child will depend on their personality, on their nature, and obviously a child has a lot around them. A child coming to school has a family behind. So if a child walks into school wounded, they're coming from a war zone, that happened at home, will be offended in school a lot easier and deeper than a child that comes from a healthy, stable home with a father and mother, strong and healthy, shalom bayis. So everything impacts the child.
There's so many things,
So many things. We can't.
Beautiful story. The Moshe Leib Sassover, the Heilige Moshe Leib Sassover was a Chassidische master, Chassidische Rebbe. And he used to make Kiddush Friday night. He had the Tish. He had a few hundred people there. He never made Kiddush until he went through every person sitting around the table of thinking, what is this person more than me? He didn't want to get into Gava, like I'm a Rebbe and I'm like, I got it, I figured out life. He said, no, he used to think this person does more chesed than me, this person, that person. And one day a person walked in and that person was like a real struggling Yiddish and Shemala, like totally. And the Rebbe was trying to think, what am I more than that person? What is that person more than me? And he couldn't get to anything. And he used to do these calculations very quietly, but he turned to his son. And Moshe Leib said, tell me, what could I'm struggling. I can't make Kiddush. There has to be. And then he said, I get it. If I would have the same parents like this person, the same genes, the same genetic makeup, the same friends, the same childhood, the same, everything the same, I probably would have not even come to shul at all. So this person is way more greater than me, and that's when he made Kiddush and he realized. So we're teaching us, that Tzaddikim were teaching us that every person has, I guess they understood very well how.
I'll just, time is running. I'll just finish also with Chassidische Masse. You finished, I'll finish with Chassidische Masse, with the vision of Rebbe, the Havas Yisrael. An amazing story with the Havas Yisrael. His cipher is the Havas Yisrael because he loved every Yid. And this goes back, and once he Mamish loved every Yid, and every kvittel that came in, he made sure to tell them how much he loves them. Once a Yid never came in to him that challenged him to a way, like, how can I love this Yid? And he was thinking. Then he told this Yid, you know what? I envy you. I'm jealous. Rebbe, you're jealous of me? He said, yeah, I'll tell you what. The Chazal tell us that if someone does tshiva mahave, all the avaris become mitzvahs. If you would do tshiva mahave, you would be a bigger Rebbe than I am, because you have more avaris than I have mitzvahs. And if you only do tshiva mahave, you'll be a mamash chundach makane. So this is how he loved him. So this Yid Nebuch answered the Rebbe. Said, Rebbe, wait another year, you'll be even more jealous.
He's going through.
What he was going through.
Wow.
But that's the way we have to look at another Yid, and especially on our own children. That, they all do Tshiva Mahava at the end, Baruch Hashem.
Right.
And I will say the Tshiva Mahava that they do is, besides the simple Pshat, because they love Hashem, their Tshiva comes Mahava from our love to them. When we show them love, they come back. They return Tshiva. They return Mahava because we love them.
Tshiva means that I'm healed.
Yeah.
Who does Averis if you're not healed?
If you're not healed,
If you're not healed,
they all come back Mahava, Bez Hashem.
we're going to heal.
Bez Hashem.
All right, so
Yeah.
Absolutely, we should all be.
Get to be
We
serious.
should know how to do it. We should know how to deal with the siblings
Amen.
and
Amen.
everybody
Amen.
else.
Amen.
Koich.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.